What's going on, guys? I'm Chris.
And I'm Andy.
And today we have a pretty awesome video. We haven't talked about the MCU in a very long time, and Black Widow was supposed to come out this year, as well as the Eternals, so we figured we would just go ahead and rank every MCU movie because this is something we've never done before. There's 23 movies, and we're simply just going to take turns going 23, 23, 22, 22, all the way to our number one, so I hope you guys enjoy this video.
Yeah, and also I just wanted to say, too, that we have a MCU, phase-by-phase reviews. You can go watch those, and we really do get in depth with them, I think.
Yeah, so let's get right into it. So coming in at number 23, I believe we share the same one, right?
Yeah, we do.
That's going to be Thor: The Dark World. Movie is absolutely forgettable and boring, has one of the worst MCU villains. We could go on, but we'll spare you. Like we said, we have an MCU video, so that's our number 23. My number 22 is actually The Incredible Hulk. I think this is, 100 people have said this, but it is the black sheep of the MCU, simply because it doesn't have the right tone of the MCU. Edward Norton's the Hulk and Mark Ruffalo's the Hulk from there on out. Very forgettable as well. I like Abomination. I think the last act's decent, but nothing special and really just not a rewatchable movie.
My number 22 is going to be Captain Marvel. It's very close to being the worst MCU movie for me. It's one that I really am not going to go back and rewatch or have the desire to. It's just bland and boring, honestly.
Simple enough. Funny you mentioned that because my 21 is actually Captain Marvel. Yeah, despite the fact that Nick Fury's in it and he's pretty cool, they did a really good job de-aging him. The movie is very bland and does not know what it wants to be. I think they should have gotten directors who knew the property more. They could have made a more compelling movie, and Brie Larson comes off kind of bland in this movie.
Yeah, it definitely does. So my number 21 is one that you already talked about. We have the same bottom three, just shuffled around a little bit, and that's Incredible Hulk. It feels really weird. This movie, it doesn't feel like 100% in the MCU just because of Edward Norton playing Bruce Banner. Tim Roth, he's a good villain as Abomination, and then the carryover with the general, I forgot his name, but he's in the MCU further on. That's really the only carryover. So
yeah, Thunderbolt Ross, I think.
Yeah,
he's a decent enough character, but coming in at number 20 for me is going to be, and this one hurts me, guys. It's Iron Man 2. And I don't like this movie. I used to like it a lot more when I was really young, but it still has Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, and he is my favorite character in the MCU, but this movie just has so much going on, and it's clear that there was studio interference from the get-go. If Jon Favreau had some more time to make this movie, and he could have made Whiplash a more compelling villain and various things, I think it would have been better, but we did get Black Widow, and we saw some more Nick Fury, so that is a high point for this movie.
Yeah, my number 20 is Ant-Man and the Wasp. I think that this is one of the dumbest Marvel movies. The plot is pretty stupid, and it's just pointless, and it doesn't have any stakes. Of course, the quantum realm is the coolest part of the movie, and the Wasp is really cool too. I like her uniform a lot, and I like her character too, but I just don't like this movie at all. It's weak.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally fair. That's how I feel about the next movie on my list, which is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Now, I know you really like this movie, but for me, it's always just been one of the forgettable MCU movies because, while it does have the Guardians, which are characters that I truly do love, I think that it's just got kind of a weak villain with the whole ego Kurt Russell thing in the end, and it's kind of muddled in the middle there where they switch planetary settings 5 times within 20 minutes, so there's a lot going on. And I think some of the humor doesn't hit for me. I think you disagree completely, and we'll hear this later on. But it's not one I want to go back and rewatch. I do think Yondu's death, very emotional and impactful. Spoilers if you haven't seen it. But Guardians 2, it's just not one of my favorites.
So 19 for me, it would be Iron Man 2. It's pretty crazy that you have Iron Man 2 below Ant-Man and the Wasp because you haven't said it yet. So I'm just assuming that. But Iron Man 2, I don't think it's trash. I think that RDJ has a good performance in it. The scene whenever he has the suitcase in the race car is really good. The ending is really good with him and Rhodey back to back fighting with each other, and also their relationship in the movie is really good. That's why I put it ahead of some of them, but it's still not good. It's messy.
I mean, I agree for sure. My 18 is going to be Ant-Man and the Wasp, which you just talked about.
Okay, yeah.
But I still have fun with this movie, how it turns into a mulligan thing where every character is trying to find the certain object. But like you've said, Ghost is a very weak villain, and I don't even know if she would classify as a villain by the end of this movie.
Yeah.
Walton Goggins, though, I like seeing him on screen always. He's great in the Tarantino movies, of course. So he adds some new energy to the franchise, but other than that, this movie essentially was just something to take it easy after Infinity War, and it does have one of the better MCU post-credit scenes.
Yeah, it does, but at the same time, does it? Because he got out so easily in Endgame, you know? The stakes weren't as high as I thought they were going to be.
True.
It was cool at the time, though. So 18 for me is Doctor Strange. This movie is cool. The visuals are really, like, trippy and awesome, and Dormammu's scene at the end is, like, really cool, too. But overall, this movie, like, can get boring at times, sadly. And, I mean, there is some great moments, like, when he's training with Chiwetel Ejiofor, his character, I forgot his name, but... And then Wong is really funny, too. And then, of course, the Ancient One. I love everything with her. But Doctor Strange, I'd feel like, suffers from, like, some boring scenes. A lot of boring scenes, sadly.
The next movie for me is going to be Thor, the original Thor. And I think this movie is the definition of just a middle-of-the-road MCU movie. Not a lot happens that, you know, hurts the franchise. But you do get to see Loki, so that's cool. And you get to see Thor on Earth without his powers, which is a lot of fun. It makes for some nice comedy, especially the scene in the diner where he throws the coffee mug. I've always liked that. But what I don't like about this movie is the fact that it's just kind of boring. It suffers from, like, this over-seriousness, tries to be too Shakespearean in a way, and it just can get forgettable in that way.
For me, number 17 is one that I know you disagree with, but I really don't love this movie. Far From Home, Spider-Man Far From Home is my number 17. I mean, I like this movie, but it's not, like, that good to me because... It just, I don't know, it feels kiddie at times. I like Tom Holland a lot in this movie. I don't really love Mysterio's villain. It just, like, he didn't pay off in the end for me, and he was, like, a fake, you know. But I do like MJ in this movie a lot. She's really good. Also, it was really lame how Nick Fury was a Skrull the whole time. I like Homecoming way better.
Yeah, we disagree on that one, so we'll get to Far From Home again later. Mm-hmm. But next up for me, this number 16, I believe, is going to be Iron Man 3.
Yeah, that's mine too.
And yeah, so we can talk about this together. This movie is upsetting to me just because I really wanted to see the Mandarin. You know, I wanted to see him in full force. They teased him with Ben Kingsley, and it was kind of upsetting what they did there. That's the main reason I don't care for this movie, is that twist.
Yeah, I do like Iron Man 3 because I love seeing RDJ's performance. I won't ever take that for granted.
Sure.
And in the MCU, I think that this is honestly one of his better performances. And, like, by the end of this movie, you, like, feel for his character. Even though he blows up his suits and that, like, completely is irrelevant, it still has some really cool moments in it. And, like, they took him away from the suit in this one. You got to, like, really get behind his character. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Basically like a fish out of water in a way, where he gets put in Tennessee, and his relationship with the kid is great. All around, this movie does have some rewatchable elements, and that's why it's a little higher than Iron Man 2. Coming in at number 15 for me is going to be Black Panther. Now, I know this is controversial because a lot of people love this movie, but I've just always found it slightly overrated. I think Killmonger's kind of a whiny villain in a way. But I do love Black Panther. I think his suit is awesome, and the whole world building of Wakanda is super well done. So this movie has its pros and cons for me, but I've always just been on the overrated side.
So number 15 for me is going to be Avengers Age of Ultron. This movie is a real mess. It has, like, it's all over the place at parts. Like, it starts off in the one place in Sokovia, I think, and then they go to, like, the ships with Andy Serkis' character. It's just, like, all over the place. But I do like the characters in the movie. Of course, like, seeing the Avengers team up again is always good. Captain America is really cool in this movie. Vision, this is his best movie. Mm-hmm. I think everybody agrees with that. Yeah. Ultron was an okay villain, and I loved, like, the last, like, 5 minutes of the movie when, like, Cap walks out and is like, Avengers, and then also the after-credit scene with Thanos. That might be my best after-credit scene in the MCU.
Next up for me is Doctor Strange, and you kind of touched on the major points already, but this movie is visually stunning. I wish that it won the Oscar that year. Overall, the movie kind of does fall, like, in the Thor category in middle of the road. I like Benedict Cumberbatch in the role, but it has some forgettable moments.
Next up for me is going to be Thor. And I'm surprised that you said you didn't like the Shakespearean stuff in this, especially in the beginning. I really love seeing him, like, be the king, and then also they go fight the frost giants, and then he gets abandoned. I think that the first 30 minutes of Thor are, like, pretty much, like, perfect. But then when he gets into Earth, of course, it can get, like, cheesy at times. But also I like the moment when he tries to get the hammer out and they show Hawkeye. And then, of course, when he goes back up to Asgard. I think everything in Asgard in this movie is fine. I like Thor a lot.
Next for me is going to be Avengers Age of Ultron. I absolutely love the opening of this movie. I think it's one of the better openings in any of the MCU movies. That awesome action scene, especially the shot where they all are, like, in unison. Very awesome. And I love the final battle. I think it's really cool. But the stuff in between kind of just gets mumbled together, and I don't really care for the way that Tony goes about making Ultron. I think that it could have been written better. I love that one scene where Cap tries to pick up the hammer.
Next up for me, though, is going to be Ant-Man. I think that the first Ant-Man is, like, a real gem in the MCU that people don't appreciate enough. And, I mean, Paul Rudd is super funny. The heist aspect of this movie is perfect. It fits really well. So I enjoy Ant-Man a lot every time I watch it. And I like Yellow Jacket more than you do.
Yeah, so. Next up for me is Ant-Man as well, which is funny. I think that it's an underrated movie for sure. Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, such a lovable guy, one of the better heroes in the MCU, I think. Yellow Jacket's a fine villain, but the thing I love about this movie, not only the heist, but the character of Luis, played by Michael Pena. Yeah. Seeing his narrations is so funny, and I'm still waiting on an entire MCU recap with him voicing over it.
So next up for me is going to be Black Panther, one that you already touched on. And I actually disagree with you with the comments on Killmonger. I think he is good. The character is sympathetic, and then of course Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther, he's a badass. His sister is really cool, Shuri. She's one of my favorite females in the MCU. I love the world building too. The world of Wakanda is one of the best in the MCU, and it's pretty entertaining for me. I like Black Panther a lot.
So coming in at number 11 for me is Spider-Man Far From Home. And I know you don't like this movie as much, but I really do find enjoyment with it. Anytime I get to see Spidey on screen, especially a Tom Holland Spider-Man, I'm going to be excited. And I think the addition of Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio is one of the better MCU villains. I really do. I know we're completely opposite on that. But I think that it's just so cool to see him be a tech villain behind the scenes, how he is just so manipulative. I do really enjoy Far From Home.
This is my number 11, Captain America, the First Avenger. I love this movie. It's super cool. The World War I stuff is really good to see. Him and Bucky's relationship is really good. The Red Skull, I love that villain. I like him a lot. He's in my top 5 villains of the Marvel in the MCU. And then Cap's arc is great. Him and Peggy at the end is always emotional. So the First Avenger is really, really good and underrated.
Captain America, the First Avenger is actually my number 10. So we're getting into the top 10 now, the good stuff. This movie, especially after Endgame, it went up dramatically for me because you get to see that payoff of that final dance in Endgame. And it's teased here in First Avenger when he goes under the ice. And I love this movie. There's not much I can say that hasn't been said already, but it's probably the start of the best MCU trilogy.
So coming in at number 10 for me is Spider-Man Homecoming. And this is a movie that is a great coming-of-age movie, I think. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, Homecoming is actually my number 9, so we can talk about it together real quick. I think Vulture is the second best villain in the MCU. Michael Keaton, great stuff. And that one scene where the door opens and he's there, I was like, damn, I did not see that coming.
Yeah, I was about to say that too. Vulture is definitely the reason why this is in the top 10. Me and Chris like Vulture a lot. He's my number 2 villain. Also, Peter and MJ's relationship starting to build. Him and Ned's relationship is super funny.
Yeah, definitely. Just seeing Tom Holland's first standalone Spidey movie, it feels pretty special.
Next up for me is going to be Captain America Civil War. This is one that really shows the divide between the heroes. The airport battle is epic, and the final 20 minutes or 30 minutes between Bucky, Iron Man, and Cap is some of the best action in the MCU, definitely.
So coming in at number 8 for me is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy. Now I know this might come as a shock to a few of you and you think it should be higher, but I still really do love this movie. I think it has one of the best movie soundtracks of all time. I literally listen to it on a loop. I love seeing the camaraderie that this gang forms on the space opera, and it's no doubt Marvel's biggest risk, but it paid off, and I really enjoy it. As I'm editing this, I just wanted to clarify that the next movie is Andy's number 8 and mine number 7. Hope you guys are enjoying so far, and sorry about the confusion. Next up for me is going to be Thor Ragnarok, directed by Taika Waititi.
Yep, this is mine too.
It is, so we can talk about this one together. He brings his own creative flair to it, and really you can see the improv here, and that's why I think this is one of the funniest MCU movies. You really do love Thor. I'm so happy that his character changed.
Yeah, there's so many good moments in this movie. Loki is a great character in this movie, probably his best movie. Also, the Hulk is super funny, and I love Valkyrie. Taika Waititi really reinvented Thor, and I'm excited for the 4th one.
Standout scenes, real quick, are the Hulk gladiator scene and the immigrant song at the end on the bridge. Great stuff.
And I love the opening scene also with Surtur.
Awesome.
My number 7 is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, one that you had way at the bottom of your list, which I disagree with, but we've always disagreed on that. And I mean, I know a lot of people that don't like this movie, but to me, this is the funniest MCU movie. Yondu has a great arc in this. Rocket has a great arc in this. Baby Groot is so cute. It's definitely the best version of Groot. And the comedy just really elevates this movie for me. And the music is also very good. Not only in the first one, but in this one, it's really good too. So.
I'll second that. The Guardians movies have phenomenal soundtracks.
Yeah, they're both great.
So coming in at number 6 for me is The Avengers. The first Avengers movie, this awesome team up. We had seen nothing like it at the time, and it still delivers one of the most exciting finales in the MCU. The Battle of New York is just classic stuff. You've got great lines, great teamwork, and the tension is really high, especially on the helicarrier in the middle act. These heroes start to pick apart each other. I think Loki is one of the top 5 MCU villains, and he gets his time to shine here. Joss Whedon did a great job here, and I love this movie.
My number 6 is Avengers Infinity War, one that you have way higher than me. But I do like Infinity War a lot. It changed the game for Marvel, and Thanos is a badass villain. Loki like him killing Loki was really like tone setting, and then of course like there's just so much that happens in this movie that's really epic, and the visuals are great. The Russo brothers did good, but something about it like can't put it in my top 5, but it is still, I do love it a lot.
All right, so we're getting into our top 5s now. And before we give those away, if you're still watching, definitely hit that like button and comment your favorite MCU movies down below. We'd love to hear them. But coming in at number 5 for me is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Now, I think this is one of the best directed movies in the MCU. It's the debut of Joe and Anthony Russo in their MCU career when it comes to directing, and the action is on another level here. The choreography in the elevator scene and the highway fight scene are both outstanding, and you get some really powerful moments here in this movie between Bucky and Captain America, especially towards the end when they're on the ship and they're having to fight it out. It's really, really powerful. You get introduced to Falcon here, and the On Your Left line is born. But Winter Soldier, it's a lot of people's number 1 or 2. I still love it. It just misses the cut.
My number 5 is Guardians of the Galaxy. Used to be higher on my list, but it's gone down a little bit. Still in the top 5 though. I love the cast. Chris Pratt is super good in the role of Star-Lord. Also, of course, like everybody else, Zoe Saldana, Bradley Cooper. But Thanos is in this movie, kind of. He's like a good like stepping stone villain. You know, like it's just showing like him, his background, kind of. And then of course the soundtrack super good. The movie extremely entertaining, and I just love like the arcs that the characters start on, just like as all smugglers, like lone smugglers, and then at the end like a family.
Coming in at number 4 for me is Captain America: Civil War, easily one of my favorite MCU movies. Not only do you get the introduction of T'Challa, aka Black Panther, but you're introduced to Spider-Man, played by Tom Holland, in one of the best scenes. I love the music, and when Queens popped up on the screen, I lost it. But my favorite scenes in this movie have to be the airport battle, one of the best fight scenes in the MCU, and of course, Cap versus Tony, the very end of the movie. I think that is fantastic. I'm always torn in this movie because I switch from side to side throughout the whole time, so that's awesome.
So my number 4 is going to be the one that started it all, Iron Man. Robert Downey Jr. should have gotten an Oscar nom for this movie, but he did for Tropic Thunder that year, so at least he was nominated. This movie has so many good moments in it, iconic moments. Jeff Bridges is a good villain. Pepper Potts, Gwyneth Paltrow, they have a good relationship. Jon Favreau did a hell of a job directing this, and then the after credit scene is awesome. And also the final scene of the movie still like might be my favorite ending of the MCU movies. Like I Am Iron Man.
Iron Man's my number 3. I absolutely adore it. There was a point in time in 4th grade where I watched it 4 days in a row because I love this movie. The Back in Black music at the beginning, and then seeing his character arc from cave to really becoming the hero at the end who wants nothing to do with this weapons company. Very well done, and I Am Iron Man, great ending.
So my number 3 is going to be The Avengers. I mean, this is like one of the best comic book movies of all time for me. I love all their dynamics. The final hour of this movie is like some of the best MCU stuff. The Battle for New York, that's what I'm talking about, is just epic. And Loki's presence in this movie is very felt, and when he kills Coulson, that's an emotional moment. Loki is a badass in this movie. It's like he's in my top 3 villains, and a lot of that comes from this movie, I think.
So my runner-up, coming in at number 2, is Avengers: Infinity War. This is a culmination of everything I've been waiting for and the first part of this epic conclusion to the Infinity Saga. I think that Thanos is the greatest MCU villain, hands down, and we see that in full force here, right from the beginning when he kills Loki. I love the way that the Russo brothers handle these different groups of characters. They each have different areas, like there's Titan, Wakanda, and then you get Thor and Rocket out in space. There's some emotional moments here, and obviously that shocking finale that left me waiting for a whole year.
My number 2, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Badass movie, the best action in the MCU. Nick Fury is a boss in this movie. The Winter Soldier is a great villain in this movie, so is Pierce. I love Steve and Natasha's like relationship in this movie, how they work together. The dynamic is super good. And also the after credit scene introducing Scarlet Witch in them, that's a great one too.
So coming in at number 1, if you haven't guessed by now, it's the same for both of us, Avengers: Endgame.
Yeah, of course, this is our number 1. We've talked about it in our first video that we ever made, also in our top 10, also in our MCU videos. But we can both say that this is the best MCU movie. It's epic. It's 3 hours long. It pays off perfectly. Iron Man's arc and Cap's arc are completed, and I loved it, everything they did with it.
Yeah, the first act's the destruction and recovery, the second act is the time travel fan service, and the third act is the epic battle. All come together to make the perfect MCU movie, and Avengers Assemble, I get chills thinking about it every time.
Yeah, I can watch this anytime and be entertained, and I just love Thanos' like final like scene, like you see him disappear. That's just, it always gives me chills.
Avengers Endgame is the best MCU movie, hands down. Alright guys, so that's a wrap for our entire MCU ranking. Hope you all enjoyed, and be sure to like this video and comment your ranking down below. I know there's going to be some hot takes. We definitely had some of our own, so we'd be interested in hearing yours. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. We're very close to 400 subscribers, which would be insane if we could hit that soon, guys. It would really mean a lot. So be on the lookout for more videos coming soon, live streams, all that good stuff. And until next time, we'll see you guys later.
See you guys.